Okay, so first thing we've got here is approving the minutes for the 31st of May and June 5th. If you have a motion?
So second.
Mr. Claypool? Mr. Lemon?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Okay, and then item number 3, I have a number of things to report on that I execute on your behalf. June 6th, for Department of Development, Community and Economic, approved and executed the Office of Housing and Community Partnerships, RLF grant/loan review report form for the proposed revolving loan fund loan to Eras One Corporation, Red Wine and Brew, for the purchase of machinery and equipment in the amount of $256,000. So this is just a report form for that. On June 7th, on behalf of the Department of Aging, I approved and executed agreements for the 2018 Senior Farm Market for Geauga seniors age 60 and over that qualify for the voucher program for the period June 1st, 2018 through October 31st, 2018 for the following: Cerna's Farm and Market, Craig Cerna; Hirschberger Produce, Marvin Hirschberger; Maple Crest Farm, Patrick Cousins; Eddie Fruit Farm, Art Alcorn; Patterson Fruit Farm, DNS Produce, Raymond Byler; Howard's Apples, Paul Harris; River Valley Produce, Jacob Kaufman; Burton Floral, Sage's Apples. And then on June 11th, on behalf of the county home, I accepted the resignation of Don Rossitano, full-time cook, job number 1503, to be effective June 15, 2018. And finally, for this office, I approved and executed the agreement with the Chardon Chamber of Commerce for the use of the parking lot, courthouse and East Park Street, during their annual car show on Sunday, July 8th, 2018, with a rain date specified as July 15th, 2018. Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And then
Today's financials include an appropriations transfer to the Sheriff's Office for web check fees deposited into the general fund. Travel requests from the Department of Development, Community Development to the Ohio Economic Development Association's Finance and Incentives Training Program in Dublin, Ohio. Travel requests from Juvenile Court to the 2018 Juvenile Court Clerks Conference in Columbus, Ohio. And a contract from Water Resources to Geauga Coatings LLC to prepare and paint all metal and concrete surfaces at the Valley View Wastewater Treatment Plant. Vouchers include $23,073.74 from ADP to Interwireless for professional services, licensing, software, and media sessions for the court's video conferencing project and the county's network security assessments. $10,075 from ADP to Logos Communications Incorporated for phone system upgrades. $17,932.10 from the Commissioner's Office to Masnick, Raskin and Ryder Company LPA for legal fees related to the prosecutor and juvenile court matter for March and April. $12,908.60 from the Commissioner's Office to McGlinchey Stafford for special prosecutor services. $48,219 from the engineer to Vermeer Sales and Service for a Vactron LP573 SGT vacuum excavator. And finally, $58,163.75 from JFS to Great Lakes Truck Driving School for the CDL skills training courses.
okay. So we talked about this briefly this morning. The invoices for the juvenile court prosecutor matter. It seems like it's the gift that keeps on giving here. Do we know if this is still an ongoing matter? Are we going to continue to have invoices generated for this? Or?
I would venture to guess that we would have a bill probably for May.
Okay.
We have a call out to Prosecutor Flays to get an update on a few things. This is one of those. So
Okay.
I'm hoping that that this is an issue that's winding down.
Okay. I mean, I'll be just frank here. I'm shocked by the number here, and I know this is not the total for just the prosecutor's defense. We haven't seen the juvenile court's bills and defense yet, and not to mention our legal part of it. So there's 3 different law firms involved in a matter that, to me, again, could have been solved very simply with a phone call, right? I mean, that was the...
I would imagine.
I mean, this thing is spiraling to a point where, if this was my business, I would be seriously, I mean, I am concerned. This is the taxpayers' dollars. I mean, everyone should be concerned at these dollars amounts, so.
Well, and to add on
Yeah.
to that, I'm real curious, and maybe we need to have a prosecutor come in and talk to us about this. I would agree.
Yeah.
For what they're talking about.
Is it under general business?
No, it's under Commissioner. So these two right here. Yeah, Masnick, yeah, those two, the 8 and the 9. The 12, that is the McGlinchey Stafford, that's a special prosecutor. That's for the thing with Steve Decatur.
Yeah,
This is the special
this is the one where we were arguing over the juvenile court.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me that our prosecutor ought to be giving us an explanation. He's our attorney, and in this matter, I don't know if he's operating under our umbrella or if he's operating on his own accord, but we, since we manage the budget for that whole thing, we should be getting an explanation from all parties on where this is all going, because we have to handle the budgetary side of this, and so I think they owe us an explanation. We're not opening up the checkbook for, spend all the money you can because you want to have some sort of a legal tit for tat or whatever, so.
Well, I mean, I think the bills are what they are. I mean, unless we want to, talk to these law firms and, I know we had negotiated the hourly rate, and that's about the extent of where we could even participate in this thing going back.
Let me float
But
this.
I would, just real quick, I'd like to get a tally of where we stand, including all three of us, the commissioner's office, the prosecutor's office, and the juvenile court, to see what the total dollar amount is today. And is this an ongoing legal issue? How long is this gonna go? Or let's cut this thing and, solve it. I can't believe we can't figure this out sitting at a table together, this is nonsense.
We ought to use this probably as an opportunity for future reference, to figure out how to handle these things without getting into this legal mishmash that we got going on. I think, per what Ralph had just suggested, maybe we hold this temporarily until we can get people to come in here and have an explanation or have a conversation with us. And if they're not comfortable doing that, and then we can do it legally in an executive session, I'm okay with that too. But, at the end of the day, we need to have some explanation of why we're going to spend this money we're spending. I don't even know why we're doing it. I don't know where we're going with all
I might suggest, instead of pulling those items, maybe having them go through, and then I can have the auditors hold those checks, like we've done in the past with a couple other things, until we get an idea of where things are at.
Okay.
And if necessary, if we determine that that's not acceptable, we can have those checks reissued for a lower amount.
Let me ask
or
you,
whatever.
do we get, normally we see these, and I apologize if I haven't seen it, but we usually get an hourly breakdown of the work performed, with their invoice, right?
Right.
Do we have a copy of that?
I think that we would have one of those in the back. I don't have it with me out here. Obviously, everything's redacted,
Because it's a
so all
juvenile.
you have are the dates and the amount of time,
Okay.
and what the breakdown is on.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of,
It
$23,000.
was, yeah, I remember seeing the bills, and it was several pages for each one of them. So we're talking about multiple days, many hours on each.
But from a line item standpoint, and you can ask this question, I'm going to ask you to ask this question. I understand from a legal perspective that they can't share extreme detail, but there can be general high-level commentary in terms of what the line items are being spent on, phone calls.
But the purpose,
versus,
what's the end game of
meetings,
this,
whatever.
right?
Yeah.
What do we, we're fighting amongst ourselves here, It's not like we're defending ourselves from.
Yeah, it's all in-house.
Yeah, right. This is like a, internal battle here is what it is. Let's put that down. If this was your dollars, if it was coming out of your paycheck or your checking account or your savings account, you wouldn't be spending this kind of money. I guarantee nobody would. I don't care how much money you got.
Like me suing my wife, or my wife suing me, or my kids suing me, and
Right.
a house divided against itself doesn't
Yeah,
stand. So.
right.
Yeah,
So-
we should find a way to work.
But
it
if you could do that for me and just get the, I don't think we've gotten any invoices in from the juvenile court attorneys yet.
out. I have
right?
not seen any yet, no.
No. And I think we
In
have
regards to
from,
this matter.
in regards to this matter, and then also our legal fees in regards to this matter, because we had to go have this reviewed by, by,
So is it-
Whether it was appropriate.
Well,
So is it fair to say that if the fees that we have here are representing who?
That would be
prosecutor.
the prosecutor.
So it's fair to say that we almost can expect the same amount back.
From the judge's side.
So we're
It
basically.
would be a reasonable assumption,
So we could be close to 40,000
possibly.
or more.
plus our little, review, whatever, that was probably $3-5 grand, I don't know.
It might be a little less, because if I remember right, the original attorney's office that they were using, there was some issue that, and the work that they had.
Oh, and then they changed
done,
They changed law
They were
firms.
not charging for, and then they changed law firms.
And he
So
was a
it might
lot
be
more
little bit
per
less.
hour than the other one too, way more.
Yeah, it just depends on how much each person was having them do work for them, so.
Okay.
and how much they participated in those decisions or.
All right, well, again, I think next year when we start, or, late this, fall, when we start talking about budgets, we're gonna have to start figuring out a way to budget for these type of legal.
We did
fees.
add 2 line items to the budget specifically for legal representation for the prosecutor and the courts. So those will be separate line items that we can track in
Okay.
future budgets.
Okay.
Here's an idea, and I'm just spitballing here a little bit. Oftentimes when you walk into a situation, and I just personally experienced this, filing a complaint through the courts, they have an arbitration process. And so I'm wondering whether or not we could have some sort of an arbitration process where you have some sort of internal squabble, which is what this is, and it gets resolved without having to go through all this machination. I don't know if it's a good idea, bad idea, but,
Just depends on who that third party would be in the county that would make that decision. And so being able to
Nominate you.
I volunteered.
Yeah, but someone else might think I was biased towards the commissioners. So I mean,
The other thing that's always kind of a difficult thing that I've seen over the years is that we end up, where this falls under the line item under the commissioners. And in reality, it wasn't an expense that we've really created, but yet we're, when you look at it, at the end of the day, there's a lot of the different, departments that have a lot of other expenses that go into.
That's why we're putting this in the
You know.
tax budget, to have line items for legal initiated by other people.
Well, I'm looking here, actually, here's Jay Crook, attorney at law, 2000.
I know, ironic.
But I missed that one.
He's appointed counsel, those are, I think, probably some juvenile cases where
Oh, okay.
he's appointed counsel and we have to approve.
But that's separate from,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
Yeah,
separate.
that's a point.
The Supreme Court has a section on, Supreme Court of Ohio has a section on a counsel on dispute resolution, and they actually offer, people who will come in and negotiate in situations like this. It's like that impartial third party.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the Supreme Court.
I mean,
so
I get it,
hopefully everybody-
there's differences in, especially in legal matters, there's always a different interpretation of the way it's written, and I get it, but, we're on the same team here, it's not like we're, defending ourselves against somebody trying to come in here, it's,
Right.
you should be able to sit down and, if you can't talk amongst yourselves, at least have your representatives, your liaison.
Or if you have a
down and talk.
mediator, impartial
Yeah.
mediator, just sit down and
Yeah.
tell your case, and the mediator can maybe help you see what appears
Yeah.
to be a logical outcome.
Okay, all right, well, I agree with maybe what
you want us to
Adrian's-
hold those checks?
I mean, I'm not disputing the work, if it was performed and for how much, I think we've gone over that. I guess I was just more bringing up the issue of, I was just surprised at how much, for one, and for two, is this, how long is this gonna continue?
Yeah, but I mean,
Well,
in
hopefully-
order to get the folks at the table to have a conversation, we might need to hold the check just as a incentive. I agree. We already negotiated the rate, we're already where we are, but at the end of the day, we need to have the parties come in and have conversations, say, guys, let's get reasonable here. You know, where is this going? How much are we gonna expect? So, and if they're willing to do that without us holding the check, fine. If not, we may have to do that. So I don't know what the line of thinking on that is, but.
Well, I mean, it may take, amongst the three of you, maybe figure out who might be the point person and have, again, if Adrian and I can be there, have a conversation with the court and have a conversation with the prosecutor and say, we need some closure here.
Right. You know,
Well, at least need to get some sort of an idea where this is going. I mean, like Ralph said, this is under our name. I mean, it doesn't say, it says commissioners here.
So there's no indication that it's done. This is just a set of bills.
just the prosecutor's setup. No juvenile court yet.
And again, what we're looking to do in the budget for next year is there'll be attorney fees that are initiated by this office and attorney fee, line item for attorney fees initiated by others. So it'll be easier to see, hey, this one was not a conscious decision of this board to spend money with an attorney. Someone else feels that they
Yeah.
have a need to do it.
I mean, I don't have a problem approving the financials as they are, but again, I mean, I don't know if it makes sense to hold that check for any, what purpose other than just to bring it to everybody's attention.
Let's do this, let's process it, but let's reach out to the prosecutor and to the judge and so forth, and say, let's have a conversation, guys. We gotta bring this to some sort of conclusion, or at least have an understanding of where this is going, because we have no idea where this is going.
And did they see these bills? Did they get the bills?
Yeah, they are forwarded to us from the prosecutor's office, yes.
Okay.
So they do.
So they're aware of.
Yeah,
They
these
have
are on
the
the
opportunity.
prosecutor's side.
Yeah, no, I get it,
Yeah.
but they do see them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
Oh, yeah.
making sure they know how much we're
No,
talking
yeah.
about it. This
They
isn't
do.
just like,
This
You
is
know,
monopoly.
They don't
money,
see,
you know,
right.
so it's just.
No, they do see those.
okay.
And they have the opportunity to redact the information that's out there.
I would make a motion to go ahead and approve the financials.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yeah.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Hey,
Thanks, Adrian.
thank you. Nobody from probate, so we'll go to number 6, engineer's office. How you doing?
Morning.
Good.
Hey, Nick.
Items 6 and 7 are pretty much the same, executing the contracts that have already been awarded. One for the asphalt resurfacing of Leggett Road, the other for the asphalt resurfacing of Kyle Road, both to Roniak Paving Incorporated.
Okay, we could do both of those then.
The county engineer's office is requesting the board approve and execute a unit price contract with Roniak Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Leggett Road, CH 33, sections B through C in Burton Township in the amount of $225,832. Bid bond submitted shall be held to serve as the performance bond for this project. The county engineer's office is requesting the board approve and execute the unit price contract with Roniak Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Kyle Road, CH 44, sections A through B in Clarendon and Huntsburg Townships in the amount of $559,889.15. Bid bond submitted shall be held to serve as the performance bond for this project.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool? Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Nick.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
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 Few items for you.
Good.
The first one we have, number 8, is a request for the board to approve the determination of subsequent exemption for categorical exclusion project for revolving loan fund for the Aris One Corporation that Dave mentioned in his approval. He approved the loan review report form, which is just basically housekeeping, it's not legal binding. And this is stating that there's no environmental impact on the project that we would, if it were to go through.
Nice.
Do you want to do number 9 with that one?
Sure.
I think so.
Number 9 is the letter of commitment for Aris One Corporation. Again, a non-legal binding document, just stating the terms of the loan as of right now through the negotiation period.
So can you, just a little detail about this project, what exactly they're doing?
Sure. This is for Red Wine and Brew in Chester.
Yep.
Their roof blew off, if you remember, in a storm last year.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, once they fixed that, they went ahead and acquired more lease space into the next spot over.
good.
And they're going to expand the restaurant. Right now it's just a retail. And they're going to
Yes.
expand and make it a restaurant and with 2 patios front and back, similar to the Mentor,
Oh,
Ohio
really?
location.
Oh,
yeah.
nice, okay. Well, that'd be good for that shopping center.
Yeah, there's a vacant space there next to Mr. Tire.
Right,
It
right.
Fills it out, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it'll be nice, I think, for that area.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Department of Development is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the Ohio Development Services Agency certification of determination of subsequent exemption for a categorical exclusion project for a revolving loan fund loan for RS1 Corporation, Red Wine and Brew, in the amount of $256,000. The Department of Development is requesting the board approve and execute the letter of commitment to RS1 Corporation, Red Wine and Brew, for a revolving loan fund loan for property located at 8099 Mayfield Road, Chester Township, in the amount of $256,000 for 7 years, 84 months at 5% interest.
So moved, sorry.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yeah.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Right.
Sorry. I'm in favor of consent, I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right, 10 years.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
sign.
Okay. Yep, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I don't know what Christie's gonna do to that.
Yeah.
She's switched the names around.
Don't be blaming me. I don't prepare those documents.
We screwed up.
I did.
need you to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Numbers 10 through 13, they're tied together pretty much. Number 10, what's going on is Great Lakes Growers, they currently have 2 local loan funds, 2 local loans with us that were made years ago. And they want to change out the collateral and the guarantor on that. We're going to remove Tim Ryan as a guarantor and place Richard Bonner as a personal guarantor. And we're going to release the collateral of the property right now that is, we're a third and a fourth on. And we're putting on a lien-free property, so we'll be first and second to ourselves. So we're in a much better position. We're not re-amortizing the schedule, loan payment, nothing is going to continue on as it is. So that's what the next several things are for, is we're replacing the current mortgage and loan documents with new loan documents, and then releasing, once we place the new mortgages, we'll release the current ones.
I see.
Okay.
So number 10 is the legal loan docs, which is the mortgage promissory note amended participation agreement for a loan, which is originally $170,000 with a balance of $127,500. And that will be replacing the collateral and personal guarantee on that loan.
Do I do
So
them all
that-
together?
You said you want to just do
I
10,
think
11,
so. That would be a
13.
little bit easier.
Great, okay. And number 11, same thing with the note of $250,000 originally, balance of $204,166.74. Again, mortgage promissory note, amended participation agreement, and the personal guarantee changed to Richard Bonner. Number 12 will be the release of the current mortgage that we have, once the new mortgage will be placed on, in the amount of $170,000. And number 13 is the release of the $250,000 note that we currently have being replaced with the new mortgage.
So
I'm gonna abstain from this due to, I'm related to one of the owners here, so.
Do I have a second?
So I'll second.
Commissioner Claypool? Commissioner Lennon?
Abstain.
Commissioner Spillier?
Right.
Number 14 is a new project for Great Lakes Growers, and this will be in a regular revolving loan fund. This is the letter of commitment, again, a non-legal binding document. We're just going through the beginning stages of this. It's not approved or anything.
So you just raise.
And this will be for purchase of machinery and equipment. They're going to expand their production line again because of their ever-growing needs and new products that they keep putting out. So this is in the amount of $199,640, and you'll be seeing the loan docs come through in the next few weeks.
So what's the total loan we have out to Great Lakes Growers?
It'll be about 500,000 in all.
We're in a third position, so.
This, well, the first two loans were in a first and a second. This one will be a second on different property. So we're no more than a second position.
We're in second one,
Yeah,
so-
then the new one, it'll be a second for, to farm credit.
Okay.
So we're in much better position than we were originally.
So are they gonna be at the same place or are they going
Yes.
someplace else?
They'll be at the same place. They're going to expand there.
Nice.
Yeah.
They're not growing marijuana or something.
Not there.
Okay, good.
Not yet.
I looked at the list.
If they plan on doing that, let me know, because if I'm at the table, we can do that. So,
Yeah, I don't think anything was approved for Geauga County, if I'm not mistaken.
Good,
So,
okay. Well,
And I think where they're at in Burton Township, or is that Burton Township or Millfield?
Pittsburgh.
yeah.
I think they have them in place already, so. Second, yes, ma'am.
Commissioner
Yes.
Claypool?
Yes.
Commissioner Lennon?
Abstain.
Commissioner Spinelli?
Yes.
Do we have a cap on the ones that we do this?
500,000. Go along.
So we're at their cap.
Well, this is for 3 loans. Well, actually, this is only 1 loan at 200, that's a regular. The other 2 existing loans are local loan fund, which we don't have a cap on. But all 3 loans together with both loan funds are, after this new one, will be about 500,000. So, the following one is, we're requesting that Jerry Morgan be an alternate for Ralph on the CRA tax incentive review due to Linda Berhenny's retirement.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Mhm.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spinelli?
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Glenn? Number 16.
Mr. Glenn.
I liked your email back to the Owls.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Morning.
Good
Morning.
morning.
They have a lot of signing to do.
Mine's easy, just hiring. This is for the cleaning. Found another person, so this will make the 2 out of the 3. So we're still looking for another one. So,
Okay.
That's
guys
good.
have been doing it all in-house. It's-
Working better?
Everybody's happier.
Well, it's happier, but it's also affecting our techs. So they're the ones going around and doing a lot of the stuff during the day, so. Once we get her in place, I think we're on a good scale, and then find that last person, and so that'll get rid of our pending contracts. Start doing good, so.
Okay.
I think a lot of things, the techs have been really busting their butts and trying to do more and more
Right.
in-house instead of going out in contract.
Okay, so we could do read on 16.
The Maintenance Department is requesting the board approve hiring Tammy Heasner to the position of custodian number 1906 to be effective June 24, 2018 at the rate of $11.81 per hour with a 1-year probationary period. This offer of employment is contingent upon the successful completion of the required pre-employment conditions.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool? Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Hi.
Thank you, y'all. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thanks, Glenn.
And Michael.
Morning. Morning, y'all.
I'm gonna guess that maybe Ken David isn't there, so. I think she's back.
Okay, numbers 17 and 18 are basically the same for 2 different employees. They're just asking, these are 2 newer full-time drivers that when they were given a position of full-time, they had vacation and time off planned. One is a wedding, one is a vacation. And so this would be time, unpaid time that they're just asking for because they can't utilize any vacation they've earned. They haven't been in the job for enough time to do that.
Right.
Yes.
The Transit Department is requesting the board approve an unpaid leave of absence for Mark Zimmerman, driver, up to 16 hours For the period July 6, 2018 through July 9, 2018, this will extend his probationary period by the 16 hours. The Transit Department is requesting the board approve an unpaid leave of absence for Joe Kuzma, driver, for up to 50 hours for the period July 13, 2018 through July 23, 2018. This will extend his probationary period by the time taken up to 50 hours.
Second?
Commissioner Clickwell? Yep. Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spudler?
Hi. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Gary.
Good morning.
Okay. Sign in there. I'm gonna have to go buy some new pens.
How much are we spending? You know, the other line item we need to start looking into is stickies.
I
How much
reuse
are we
mine.
spending on those?
I have a stack like this on my desk that I reuse. Once they start falling
Yeah.
off, then I throw them away.
They lose their sticky.
This item is just a service contract with Emory Electric for Water Resources to install some variable frequency drives at our Country Lane booster station. Right now, that booster station is solely fills our Bainbridge Tower and Bainbridge Tower then provides the pressure within the system. Putting in these variable frequency drives will allow that pump station to actually operate independent of the tower. It'll still fill the tower, but it'll actually be able to provide pressure to the system if for some reason that tower needs to be taken off.
So we can provide enough pressure that all the utilities that get right out of the tower will still have
There's
pressure.
still pressure if we have to take the tower offline. So we're gonna probably need to be taking the tower offline here in the next couple of years to paint it take it down, to paint it on the inside. And
Oh, really?
To do that is at least a 3-week process.
So one of the issues with that tower is built a little too short to really do the optimum job.
Yes, it was actually constructed 30 feet too short. I've heard numerous reasons why it was that way, but it's 30 feet too short to really provide good pressure within the area. We actually have a booster station almost at the base of that tower to provide the pressure back up into the Washington 306 area.
Why did they do it? They're shorter. What have you heard?
I heard, one, it was we weren't able to get the funding for the higher tower. I heard that it was it was to appease the township trustees because they didn't want anybody to be able to see the tower. So, it was.
That's probably more.
It was,
like
yeah.
it.
There's all kinds of reasons why it was, designed improperly.
Could have dug a 30-foot
But if you
pit
look
and
at-
started, build it from the pit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you look at it, the one that I don't believe is that it was designed improperly, because if you look at the plans, it literally should, the original elevations are scratched out with the new ones written.
I mean, how
in
tall
there.
is
So
it?
It's 70 feet tall, it should have been 100 feet.
I see.
So that would have provided an additional, what's that calculation? It would have provided an additional 60 PSI of pressure.
Wow.
So,
Which would have been, we would have been able to extend the water line up to the Washington and 306 area without having to put in a separate booster station. That separate booster station actually has these variable frequency drives in it, so that is what provides the pressure to the rest of our water system. That's part of the reason, part of the reason why, years ago, South Russell wanted us to extend the water line up into South Russell. We weren't able to do it because of the cost, because we had to actually build a new tower with that.
So, on a different subject, how's it coming along finding your replacement now? So we had,
We actually got, last week, we got in a application, if you call him the gentleman,
Okay.
that interviewed. He's actually a former director of utilities for Lake County.
Oh,
No, I'm
good.
sorry, not Lake County, for the city of Mansfield.
oh, good.
So, we came in and talked to him about it.
So what type of accreditation,
He's
credentials?
a professional engineer.
Engineer,
Yeah,
okay.
So we would be able to make him a senior grant engineer too.
Oh, good, okay. So you'd be able to do both those positions
Yeah.
potentially?
Yes.
Okay.
We still need to hire an assistant sanitary engineer to do what was originally planned, which was doing a lot of the design work in-house.
Okay, okay, good.
Okay.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve and execute a service contract agreement with Emory Electric Incorporated to perform the installation of 2 variable frequency drives on 2 pumps located at the County Lane Water Booster Station in Bainbridge Township for a period of 7 months in an amount not to exceed $24,370.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Clickwell? Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spudler?
Right.
you.
Thank you.
That's step 4.
Okay.
You can revisit this one later. I'll put it to the bottom.
Okay, so I got one. So we've got, the next item is number 20. If we get a motion to move for executive session with Jobs and Family Services for public employee discipline.
Motion?
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spudler?
Okay, Gina and Craig, and if you want Linda and Jerry and me in there.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, it's hot in here when I first came in this morning, and I keep the air on. We can turn it back.
No, you are fine.
Because
You're
otherwise,
leaving that
it was just
I
like,
think we'll find out.
I walked in here and I was like, ugh. Well, I think the heat is on in the front.
Don't
So
change it. Seriously, we're almost
Well,
done. Leave
The
it.
heat was on in the lobby, and it was cold. And
Right.
smuggy.
Sometimes the buildings are like.
How are you guys?
Okay.
Hey man, just trucking along.
Did you guys sign up to get somebody?
Yeah.
Did they already start?
What do you think?
Are they good so far?
Hey.
I have stickies on my things purposely.
I sound
I was kind of
Happy to hear
expecting to
that.
see a new resolution out here, but I didn't see it.
Very good job.
That's hilarious. I don't know which version is correct.
So we're back at 10:40.
What agenda? I think they both
With some action then.
There's two of them.
The Department of Job and Family Services is requesting the board accept the disciplinary recommendation of the Director of Job and Family Services as contained in the notice to employee of proposed discipline dated May 22nd, 2018, to suspend Lauren Burton, Social Service Worker 1, for 24 hours, 3 working days without pay for violation of Section 3 of the Geauga County Job and Family Services Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual, and further approve and execute the order of removal, reduction, suspension, involuntary disciplinary separation form per ORC 124.34 for 3 working days, 24 hours.
And then it's actually social worker two.
Yes, she's a social worker too. If it says one, it should say two.
It does say 1, so we'll make that a 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
So,
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spudler?
Alrighty, thank you.
He's signed.
Yep. Kelly? Is
Well,
she here? No.
She is, but we have, number 21 is your policy. Do you want,
Yeah. Oh, here.
she was gonna come in.
Yeah.
For 22.
Gonna come in.
What's the matter?
There's no spot for Skip there.
It's on the right-hand side.
it's got me listed as present. Is that?
Is it, should go right there?
Must be an old one.
I mean, I don't have any problem, I'll just cross it out, but I was looking at it thinking, did I get promoted and didn't have it?
Yeah, it does say president, and it shouldn't. It's just cross off.
We'll make you president for this one, Skip.
Okay.
What a guy, you relinquished that?
Well, as the president, let me.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's Craig's spot, so you have to sign it.
What a guy.
You give the guy 1 minute of president.
You're like Kim Jong-il.
I was gonna say, he's gonna call Kim here. for
I'd rather
the
say
conference.
I'm more like Trump.
Little rocket guy.
Jeez. Such kidders. Not short in the squad. All right.
Nope, I go back to. They're not mine.
Thank you.
Very
All the
good.
way around,
Okay,
they're not mine.
thank you.
Alright,
Morning.
good morning.
Who's you again?
Yeah. That's how I feel. I
Can
feel
you
like
announce to who you
when
are?
I look in the mirror, there's no one there. I just sort of fading away.
Fade away.
As you recall, I talked to you about some changes that we were going to make on the compensation policy to try and get you guys more toward where you wanted to get with performance-based compensation. So I worked with probably 3 or 4 of the directors, and we redid the employee evaluation to make it, I think, more likely to be used, more likely to facilitate a back and forth between the employee and the supervisor rather than just a, I'm going to tell you how you're doing, because there's opportunities here for the employee to also put feedback in. And so then we had to change the compensation to reflect the change in the number rating system. We also added into here an option for merit bonuses rather than just step increases as merit rewards, if you will. And then Jerry asked if we could make it so that employees that are on probation are not eligible for a merit increase, because this policy said the opposite. So those are the changes. This is the new form. And so we're asking you, hopefully this will help us get to where you want to go. And so if you could approve that, I would appreciate it.
So 5 is the best and then 1 is the least.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, when I've tried to, at least my
I
view
haven't
on
seen
this
it.
is usually 3 is like adequate. 3 is fine. So you say if you're sitting down with somebody, you want to have a good reason. If they're not going to get a 3, if they really justify a 4 or 5, let's be specific. Why is
Sure.
that? And sometimes, if somebody's earns a 2 because they're short, you're going to talk about that. The old form had like 10. It gets to where, like, how do you judge who someone's a 7 or 8 or a 9?
Yeah, yeah.
I think this simplifies it, makes it easier for people. It makes it more uniform. Because that'll be the other problem when you're tying increases or possible merits. It depends on the individual reviewer. And if you have like a score of 10, it's a lot easier for that to be not inconsistent.
We have also discussed doing a little bit of training, having the department heads sit down with their supervisors to try to make sure everybody's using the same sort of criteria and the same sort of numbering. And hopefully that will make it so that we'll eliminate some of those.
So you're saying here a 4 if they miss 17 to 48 hours.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing.
Like there's a attendance, employee absence due to family, medical leave, or act or illness with the doctor's excuse shall not be considered when rating. So this would just be basically, I got the sniffles and I'm calling off.
Well, you can't use an FMLA for evaluations
Right,
anyway.
right. So, but I'm saying, so for a number 4, which I would consider 4 fairly high, 17 to 48 hours, that's a lot. That's over, you're calling off over a week.
We can change whatever you want to change.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, there's some people who just have,
If somebody's calling off more than a week in my business, they're probably gonna get terminated. A year.
Okay.
Because I can't depend on them. And to give them a 4 with missing
above average.
48,
Yeah.
48 above average, I can't see that.
Okay.
Jessica, you might want to comment just because your agency, you inherited an agency that tended to use sick time. So what?
True. I understand what you're saying, and I come from, I did my whole career in the private sector, and we were very, very strict on how many days an employee could miss work before we started the discipline process. I think the struggle that I have had is there really is no definition of excessive absences for the county. Does that mean?
Right, it's
I think
just
if we could define that, we could hold people accountable, but I have people who call off 4 and 5, 6 days a month, and that's normal. And they have sick time. And a lot of people look at sick time as an entitlement. I do not. And it does become very difficult to get a job done. I have people who have worked for me over 10 years who have 0 sick time or 8 hours of sick time, and I have about 500, so I don't know how that's possible.
We're remaining.
Yeah.
Balance.
So my struggle is, according to the policy, it says someone who has excessive absences, but I think we need a definition of excessive absences. In the private sector, we would say if you call off more than 2 or 3 times in a 30-day period, the disciplinary process begins. I think something like that would be helpful, but I think it's also challenging because we aren't the private sector and some view sick time as an entitlement and a benefit. So I think it's a slippery slope, but clearly for operations, it would make it easier for me if we had a definition.
Yeah,
that
we
says
got to
benefits.
define sick time as sick time, vacation time is vacation time. Vacation time is not,
Well, we know, yeah.
you know, a retirement package or, you know, payoff. Like, that's another thing we got to take a look at is, you know, vacation time being said is, we're going to buy out vacation
Well,
time.
your
No,
hiring
no.
authority caps it at 200 hours, which is
Yeah.
a lot tighter than almost everybody else in the
Well,
county.
yeah, I mean, let's just call vacation. Vacation time means, you know, you're supposed to go home and go play with your kids for a few weeks and go on a trip and be relaxed and come back and be a better worker, not to build it up over time and accrue it and then get paid for it. You know, that's not what vacation time is. You know, maybe I don't understand how this.
Laura, what do you consider excessive? Like what under like the what?
I knew this question was coming.
Like what is excessive? Excessive.
I mean, we could.
We can get into this a little bit, because, I mean, obviously, there are other factors that need to be considered as well, and there are certain statutory provisions that address, obviously, sick and vacation time. So we obviously have to work within the parameters of those particular statutes. I can get back to you on that, you know.
I'm just saying, because
obviously,
you probably have some kind of.
Why don't we table this then?
It's
If they're not ready?
really.
Yeah, I would
don't wanna
not.
say you deal with it on a case-by-case basis, because that's not the case here. I think, you know, if somebody has obviously an illness or a serious health condition, you know, we have to look at policy and, you know, we'd have to come up with something that would work within, within those parameters and within the legal parameters. Is it impossible? No, but we have to be mindful of that. So, let's have a second conversation regarding that, and we can get into some of the details. Obviously, I can, you know, talk to
Okay.
Jessica
I mean, we can-
regarding her thing.
You know, I can research it pretty quickly and talk to, you know, some companies' HRs and find out what their practices are out in the real world, you know.
But if they're
Yeah.
private versus public though, the
Yeah.
law's a little different with
Yeah.
public versus private.
So Laura, let me ask you a question, because it is, and that's the only thing that's always concerning, like what Jessica said, you know, it means somebody's taking 5 days off a month. There's gotta be something that they're in the process of looking, my eyes would be on them 100%, that, I mean, their shoes are untied, they're getting written up. I
Right.
mean, they're on the verge of
Sure.
going out the door.
And the thing is, when you're dealing with this kind of a situation, I mean, obviously, you know, the personnel policy manual addresses that. The employer is able to ask, you know, it is able to get additional information from their employee. You know, if the
Right.
employee calls and goes, you know, I'm sick, then the employer is able to ask, you know, for additional information regarding the nature, you know, of the illness or whatever, or whatever. If the employee's out for a certain period of time, there's something in the personnel policy manual that says, you know, hey, you provide doctor certification. And of course, as you know, if the employee is out for a longer period of time and it's a serious health condition, or, you know, obviously, we're dealing with a serious health condition of the employee's family member, then obviously the FMLA may kick in.
Right.
So there are protections in there, and it's just a matter of sometimes educating the staff member regarding the process and the procedure to stay on top of these things, to, you know, rather than let
Right.
things just kind of go. If they really stay on it, then sometimes that could be, you know.
So what about, like Jessica, if you've got somebody doing 5 days a month, do you go and knock on their doors when they call?
So, these are great questions. I think this would be a great discussion to get into separately, because I think attendance is huge, but I will say that sometimes it is difficult, even with the provision of having a doctor's excuse. Sometimes I like to say we have head, shoulder, knees, and toe people. With week 1, you have a sinus infection, week 2, your back hurts, week 3, your toe hurts. So you can come with me with a doctor's excuse every single week, and it's always something. So,
regular attendance is an essential function of the job. Regular predictable attendance is an essential function of the job. So these things, I mean, there are ways to address them, but what I was saying before is each situation is different, because you just have to deal with the, you know, somebody may have that kind of situation, or somebody
Right.
may have some other kind of situation. Once we get into the facts, then we can tell you, this is what this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. which is kind of a typical HR scenario that comes down the pipe.
So let me ask you a question. So, because just to get my arms around it is, and I agree with what you said, and I like how you said that is being at work is an essential part of the job.
Yeah.
So with that being said, is that
Being at work.
like progressive discipline in the sense of saying, of putting parameters, because, the whole thing, I mean, public employees sometimes, I think, I used to say this all the time in the police department, we don't realize the advantages of what public employees do, that in real life, people don't get 15 sick days a year, 1.5 days a month of sick time. You just, and then it carries over, and it's like, but like Jessica said, people think that that's just given, so that it's like you're entitled to 2.5 more weeks
Right.
of vacation.
And it does make it difficult then when you try and challenge any of that, because we do give them 15 days a year. And
I mean, not that we
when
give them, but they're
getting
mandated, it's mandated
evaluated-
that our hands are tied, we can't say no.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the law's the law.
And it's a
What's the law?
situation.
Well, I mean, for example, like sick time, you accrue a certain amount of hours per pay period, it's
Mhm.
set by statute. Vacation time, same thing, it's set by statute. So, I mean, that is.
Really?
Yeah, so like
that's
for
a-
every-
Your original point is that
Let's see that.
to rate this kind of absenteeism as above average
Right.
is sending the wrong message.
Yeah.
In turn, so that's a separate
They get
issue.
15 days.
You have to
Every
give them
public
sick
employee
time,
gets
but you
15
don't
days
have to give them
mandated.
merit increase.
Sick time.
If they're,
Yeah, they get a-
taking excess.
And I just wanted to highlight that,
6 hours of sick per pay period.
For pay period.
And your vacation is accrued based on the time.
Longevity.
Longevity of the event.
Yeah. So,
but in JFS's employee evaluation, we actually have this as a separate category to rate, and our rating scales go from 0 to 5, 5 being always exceeding, and so I believe we put in our date ranges 0 to 2 days absence, the years of 5, 3 to 5 days absent, I think, is a 4, and then 5 to 8 absent is meeting expectations, and then you get into meeting below expectations when you're over 8, and then when you're over another number. So we actually break it down that way and put it in our evaluation as a factor.
And is
So
that for absence
this is
period?
the other.
No, it's for
Unexcused.
sick.
Sick and not FMLA.
So it's, whether it's excused or unexcused?
Yeah.
It's just sick.
So this is the other part that, and it used to drive me nuts, because it's like, so you get, all those sick hours a year, and then in addition to that, what we had was, you get to the point where you can actually collect certain amount of sick time that you're paid for those hours of unused sick time.
When you retire?
When you retire.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what happens is,
Yeah, like the
you'd
sheriff's
have, and then,
department thing,
right.
it's a big one.
Oh, it's a big one,
Yeah.
and it hits our budget sometimes huge if you get a lot of people at one time. Now, I don't know,
Yeah, I'm not
on the
with that.
regular side of things, like for our own employees, if our sick time, like Linda's gonna retire, does she get paid on her sick time?
Up to 30 days.
Up to 30 days?
Yeah.
So that would be 240
I
hours,
mean,
or?
if somebody doesn't have 30 days, then they'll just get what they get paid, what they have, but
I mean,
if I'm
so-
Yeah, there's a cap on it.
correctly,
It's
up to 30 days.
25% of your hours.
25%.
240. So I, for
So you're getting
example,
paid for days that you above and beyond that you take as a sick day.
Right.
I
And that's
don't know how I feel about that. That's in the law too?
That's in the law.
Yeah.
You can cap the vacation, which we've done here over the years, the commissioners hiring for it. But you can't really cap the sick. It's in the law, right, Warner?
Wow. Okay.
What does that mean, it's in the law? Because it's not consistent.
It's Ohio Revised Code.
And if I could
What's in the law?
How the vacation
Public
sick is
employees
accrued
are
and
entitled to a
distributed
payout
on
their sick time and how it is paid.
Yeah, but I mean, is sick time calculated in the Ohio Revised Code?
Yes.
How many hours do they?
Yes.
How many?
8.6 hours.
It's
Accumulation
50,
of
like
it
600
and
hours or
both the
what?
revised code.
You know, personally, I don't think that
Wow, I
attendance
never knew that.
should be I think it's a trap in a performance review. And so I don't think it should be in a performance review at all. And there's a number of improvements I'd like to suggest to this, because I'd like to talk about, 360 text reviews or peer reviews, other mechanisms, rather than leave it to one person to be able to review somebody's performance, because there's all kinds of subjectivity to that. So there's a bunch of suggestions I'd love to make for this. I'd suggest setting this aside temporarily.
So do we want to table it?
Yeah.
Until
I mean,
further?
I appreciate what we're doing here, because
Yeah, I
this
think
is
we
better
do.
than,
Absolutely.
yeah, this is a step forward for sure.
But we need
But I
to-
guess,
we need to-
be mindful of of the laws, and trying to figure out, but, to what you said, making that a part of, hinging on performance is, being at work, being timely, being consistent, and then also being loyal over, say 5, 10, 15-year periods, and
Yeah.
that's, that's how you.
If you've got a policy man, you've got a way to correct misbehavior if somebody's taking off too much time or whatever the case happens to be. You don't need to make that part of
I mean, I guess my
That's
take
just
on,
a trap.
my take on the sick time though is, by law, you're constrained with, if you can withhold sick time, but you can certainly factor it into, is someone above average performer, and if they routinely say, hey, I'm entitled to sick time, I'm gonna take it when I'm a little sniffle, versus someone who works through it, then that person ought to be, at least on a merit basis, should be viewed higher in that category than somebody that takes more time.
Mhm.
Because it's a cost to the organization when you're not
I
here.
mean, the standards aren't real high if you go by this.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I
That
could
should
do.
let you know the magnitude of the problem.
Yeah.
We're trying to address the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
If we take attendance
right.
out and we're not reviewing them on attendance, then who gives a crap?
Right.
Right.
Well, they're
Right.
also
Okay, but they
different
can't.
crap. And so if you got a policy manual that talks about attendance, then you have mechanisms through the policy, through your normal management procedure to deal with it. You don't have to do a performance appraisal on it. You have to be kind of
Well,
careful.
I think it should be part of their. I think it should be part of the big picture. It's just one line in there. Obviously, you can't be great at them all, but hopefully you can. The majority you can. And attendance is one that.
Well, you're trying